Today I'm going to show the difference between a flexibility press, so something where we're really compressed, and then a planche press and everything in between. Now the easiest way for me to train this is to do eccentrics. So I'm going to press up to show you that standard press. Let's do that now. So you're just using flexibility. So now I'm going to pull my legs in as close as I can to my body and take my legs around the outside. So using the flexibility that I have now to go as close to the torso as I can with the legs. So that's just squishing the body as much as possible. So from a flexibility point of view, that's the easiest way to press. The hardest way then is to add strength on top of that and go towards planche press. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly go through and make it harder and harder from a strength point of view and start to open out as far as I can towards an eccentric planche press and trying to open the body up as much as possible. Now with this, I'm going to superset the same exercise but do front lever pulls. So go into an inverted position on the bar and then just lower. Now I'm just going to train at home, so I've got one of these single P bars that I'm going to use. So I'm just going to go upside down into a tuck at the moment and then just lower down for the easiest variation. So in terms of the planche, the easier version is going to have my knees closer to my chest, and then the more I open up away from the torso with the legs, the harder it's going to be. Okay, now I'm just going to do an eccentric. I'm going to start in the easiest position, so I'm going to start in a straight handstand and then I'm going to come down, legs as close to the torso as I can and come down. So remember, this is the easiest version of the eccentric press if you have flexibility. So from my straight handstand position, as I come down, I'm trying to bring the legs as close as I can in line with the torso, in line with the hands, and finish very close to the hands so everything's squished together. Eccentric of the front lever lower. So tight tuck position. And then lower, nice and slow with control, butt to the floor. Now I don't have much range here because I'm on this bar, but it's going to get much harder quicker as I start to open the position up. Okay, back to the press now. Same thing, I'm going to go into that handstand, but this time when I lower down, I'm going to have my legs further away from my torso. Now watch when the legs come further away, now my shoulders planche forwards more. And now I finish at this distance. So I've got like a foot distance or maybe just a bit more between the foot and the hand. So let's actually use a marker now to give me a rough idea of where I am. So I'm going to put my fingers on this line from now on, and then I'm going to put a marker down as a target for my toes. Okay, now with the front lever version, I'm going to start to open the knees up a little bit away from the chest. So just think of that position. So in your front lever, this would be easy. The more I move my knees away from my chest, the harder that becomes. So same thing when I open up. Now again, this bar gets in a way at the top here. Now if I was using rings, it would be a little bit easier to set the position before I start to lower. What I'm going to do now is just take my knees to the bar. So instead of being in this tight tuck position here, I'm going to take knees to the bar and then keep that distance the same between my knees and my chest. Lower to there. Now if you are following along with this one, the knees to the bar is actually quite a big jump, so you might want to go somewhere in between if you're not used to opening up so much in the front lever. Okay, so we're going to use this line now for the eccentric press. I'm going to put my fingertips on there. This is where I landed last time, so I'm going to make it a little bit more open now. Now watch again the shoulders. What happens to the shoulders to compensate for the legs going backwards? So in that handstand position, actually I'm going to move further away because I'm starting to open the legs up and I don't want to hit the wall. So in that straight position, straddle, that shoulders coming forwards and down. So I'll move the marker to the new point with the toes. Okay, back to the front lever now, open it up a bit more. So this time, instead of having the knees on the bar, I'm going to open up to closer towards a half lay position. So half lay is when you have a fully open hip and closed knees. So nearly open hip position, and then I'm going to try and hold that as I lower down through the front lever and back down. Now because of the distance I'm getting, I need to know what I'm going to do with the legs. This time I'm going to bend the knees slightly and go into what's called a frog type position. So it's going to look a bit more like this as I come down. So it's not quite a straddle, but it's like a straddle with bent knees. So same deal on the line, see if I can finish just past that car. So frog position, shoulders are coming forwards. A lot less articulation through the spine now. Now I'm probably getting to my max in terms of where I can hold a conversation, so I'm not going to be talking on the harder variations of these now. Same thing with the front lever, I'm going to open to that frog leg position. Okay, now we're going to do a high hip straddle planche eccentric planche press. Jesus, that was a mouthful. So basically it just means like it's a straddle planche, so my legs are apart and straddle, but I'm going to leave my hip behind. So my hip's going to be a bit higher as I come down, so it makes it much easier than a normal straddle planche position. So there's the high hip position, but then the feet are up in the air because I'm upside down. There's the open hip position, way harder. So we'll start with the easier variation with the higher hip. Okay. Shoulders are going to start to go very planchy now. Going to have hardly any rounding in the back. So interestingly, my toe position is about the same as the last one, but that's definitely harder because the knees are going that way. In the frog position, the knees are this way, so it brings weight in towards the hands. Weight's going away from the hand as you go more towards the straddle position. Now, same thing with the front lever. Now, what you have to be careful with the front lever position is a lot of people go to straddle and they think they're making it harder, but it's actually easier than the frog position because you can take your feet back this direction. So if I go into an easier version of a straddle, if I put my feet back like this, it's not really a straddle position because this is straddle when the feet go that direction. The feet go this direction compared to the frog position, a lot of times you're actually making it easier instead of progressing to a harder variation. So just be careful of that one. Okay, so straddle position. But with this version, because high hip means the hips will touch the floor first before the feet. Next one is starting to push it towards my max, so I'm going to go towards a open hip straddle. So try and have no close of the hip in any way. So it's going to look more like this. So open hip, closed hip. Easier, harder in terms of the planche and the front lever. So we're definitely, I think now this is where the border is between the planche press and the press handstand. So this is definitely a planche press now with the open hip. No, I think that was fully open, but what I recommend you do and what I should do is check my camera back just to see what actually happened instead of what I think happened. Okay, same thing with the front lever. Try and have fully open straddle position. Okay, now I'm going to finish with two things. So I'm going to try and go through that straight position, pass through full planche and go down. This is probably beyond me slightly, so I'm going to have very slight bend in the hips, or I might even bend the elbow or lose a bit of protraction, but I'm going to try and control it all the way down as best I can. Then I'm going to do the same with the front lever, keep the body dead straight, go all the way down. Then I'm going to rest and see if I can do the concentric, so the hardest variation of the concentric, so a planche press up and a front lever pull up. Now the other change I'm making here is the more I go to the harder variations of the planches, I'm slowly turning the hands out, so I'm externally rotating more. Yeah, that was a little bit too much out of control. Let's see what the front lever's like. Okay, let's have a go at the concentric. Now the best I can do with the concentric on a good day, especially if I've been training towards it, is somewhere between that open hip, closed hip straddle position. So I'm going to try that today, I'll see how I go. And then on the way up with the front lever pull, if I'm on the rings I can do straight body because I can whip myself up a little bit more because I can do that 360 pull type movement. I'll put a video up there. I'm actually going to do a skin the cat 360 pull video very soon. But it'll be interesting to see what I can pull up with, probably half lay position or an open straddle hip position on the bars. Now when I go up on these, I like to go down for it at the same movement as well and try and put a little bit of a hold. Wasn't too bad. I think the hip led the way a little bit and my arms always want to bend slightly. That one I struggle a little bit with space on those bars on the floor, but it's a good way of like starting you off very close to the front lever position or just underneath it with my arm length. Now it's been tricky to train this and do the video today as it's school holidays and I've got a house full of kids, but hopefully you got something from the video. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated, and let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Speak to you next time. Thanks guys.